Hi, my name is Austin Covey. I'm here with the Crane 3 Lab gimbal. I bought it a little while back for personal and some church and business use and different things like that. And I don't normally do product reviews, but I watched a lot of them before I purchased this. And there's a couple things about it that I have discovered in use that weren't talked about in a lot of the reviews that I watched. And so I kind of wanted to touch on those just briefly for anybody else who might be out there kind of looking around. Some of the things I didn't discover until after I bought it, just from messing with it and then looking on different online messaging boards and things like that when I knew more specifically what to search for. To start off, I really liked the physical design of this gimbal. You can see it's a little abnormal in its handle design. I found it to be, just looking at it, I thought it was very interesting to be able to go from an underslung shot to an upright shot so easily. And I really found it easy to use in that sense and very easy to use with a two-point hand grip. I know some people said they felt like they had to hold it too far away from their body and they didn't maybe have the strength to the control for it. But for me, I actually found it to be a better way to hold it. I really liked the built-in tripod hand grip function down here. And I know they make a quick release plate for this. I didn't find that particularly useful. There was no instance when I really needed to pop the tripod off or pop that bottom grip off. And so I just kind of left it on. Something I really liked about the design as well is I liked having and you may not can see them at this point, I'll do some close-up shots of them, but there's a lot of buttons, a lot of control features built into the handle. So you don't have to go to an app for them, or you don't have to do a lot of hand movement was the thought. And I really like that idea. I read somewhere that they were based somewhat on like an airplane controller. And I like that function. But in practice, I haven't found it to be that useful. They're in position in such a way that if you're holding it right-handed and you try to reach around, it's very difficult to reach these with your thumb. At least it is for me. I don't have the biggest hands in the world. But even if you did have a larger hand, I can only imagine that it would stick out farther and not wrap around as easy. So more often than not, I found it easier to wrap my index fingers around and actually hit it that way. Which does kind of cause you to lose a stable grip on this upper part, and you do get some shake from it when you do that. Also, these buttons on the back here are a little bit small, and they're kind of hard to hit with your thumb if you're not sort of paying attention to it and really pushing in on them. It's hard to hit with the pad of your thumb accurately. And so it was a good thought. I don't know that it was that well implemented. I think maybe if I had designed it, I would have sort of put a little fur out piece here and moved these buttons from being flat on the side to facing back towards the user so you could reach over and punch them and made the buttons a little bigger. I think that might have made it a little bit more functional. I really liked the locking axes. It makes it much, much easier to balance than some of the other gimbals. I thought that was really good design on their part. It also makes it great for when you're shooting a video. Not that it isn't balanced, but it does make it easier for carrying, for transporting, and for balancing and isolating the axes. It also has removable batteries. To me, that was a big benefit. Right now I've got a Canon DSLR on it, so it's not a big deal. But if you wanted to use, say, like a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, or kind of notorious for bad battery life, or something that was a little bit of a bigger rig, and you were going to charge it off of the gimbal, being able to swap those batteries out mid-shoot was definitely a huge benefit. And having that functionality there, where if you were doing a really long shoot, or maybe you were going to be out somewhere away from electricity for a little while, you could charge a few sets of batteries and you were good to go there. So that was something that drew me to this and maybe away from the DJI, which has a built-in battery. Part of the reason I went with this over the Moza and the DJI was one, payload capacity. This does have the highest payload capacity of the three. The design obviously was a benefit. And then this, I was kind of weighing them, and then B&H happened to put this one on sale, and so it just made it, at the time, what appeared to be a no-brainer. And so picked it up and have been trying it, but like I said, a few issues. I do like the placement of the joystick down here. You can sort of see it where my right thumb is. It does make it easy when you're holding the gimbal with the tripod collapsed. Not functional really in any sense, though, when you're in underslung mode, as far as I can find. And as far as physical features, that's really sums it up. One of the other things that I really did like about this one, I don't have these attached currently, but it does have zoom and follow focus servo motors that attach to a strap that you wrap around the lens. And this one, as long as it's got a lens that you can strap something onto, it's good to go. And that was a benefit as well that I really thought. But the big, I guess, hitch for me with this gimbal was when it came to downloading the app. The app asked for a lot of permissions that I wasn't necessarily comfortable with and that I wasn't sure were pertinent to a gimbal. Particularly, and this is the one that I saw the most complaints about in forum space or on Facebook, was access to the telephone features of your phone. I'm not sure why a gimbal needs to make phone calls or why it needs access to the ability to make phone calls. When I reached out to the company, they told me that was how the gimbal identifies which phone it's connected to. Now, and one of the things they told me was that that app permission was required by the Android App Store or by the Google Play Store. It's not. I've never been asked for access to my telephone by any other app on the Google Play Store. Or at least none of the apps I've downloaded. Can't speak for all of them. And when I responded with that, they just dropped the conversation. And so I'm not saying, I don't know if they're doing anything with the data or not, but they're asking for access to scrape user data for some reason. And it's just not access that I'm okay with giving them. And so that was really, at the end of the day, that was the big turnoff for this gimbal. And that's the reason I'm actually returning it to B&H. So I'm exchanging it for a DJI Ronin. And so, I may do a follow-up video. Like I said, product reviews aren't normally my thing. But I may do a comparative video with the Ronin just to kind of give an apples and oranges, or, maybe give you an idea of kind of how I feel about products in general. But the app really was the deal breaker, I guess you'd say, for me. And it's a shame, really, because from a physical standpoint, I really like this gimbal. It has a lot of features about it that are unique, I think, and that a lot of really good engineering. Even the, they have the little swivel screws here that actually ratchet. They're spring loaded and they pop up off the screws, so you can make finer tuned adjustments other than just spinning them around. It's particularly useful with this piece, so it's not hitting the camera. And again, I'll do a close-up shot of that so you can see it a little better. But, just a lot of really well-engineered features, I thought, in this physically, but it got stymied for me by the app. And so that wasn't something that I saw on a lot of the other reviews that I watched, and it was something that I wanted to make sure people were aware of. I understand not everybody is that conscious of their security, or maybe some of the other reviewers had standalone hardware, set aside smartphones that were company phones or that they used specifically for their reviews. And so it wasn't an issue for them. For me, it was my personal phone, and that was just access that I was not interested in giving a third-party company, or at least not knowingly giving a third-party company. Some people would argue that they all have the information anyway, so why bother? But for me, if you're going to ask me blatantly, my answer is going to be no. And so it was a feature that I wanted to make sure people knew was there, and a problem that I had with it. And, fly with caution, I guess. That's up to you whether that's something that you're comfortable with or that you don't mind using or not. But for me, it was a red flag, and I just had never seen anybody else comment on it, so I wanted to make that a point for people who might be interested. Let me know what you think down in the comments. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. And I appreciate y'all's time. I hope you have a great day. Thanks.